Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels Milestone Book Club featuring the Brothers Anderson, not related, where we're going to take on the massive Milestone DC. And I guess not really massive as crossover events go. I mean, it's only 14 issues.
Oh
No
boy.
Man's Land was like what, 112? Civil War weighed in at like 130, but uh it
This
certainly
thing is
felt
barely, yeah.
massive.
I mean,
It did.
it's massive by
It's like
comparison.
it's almost 300 pages.
Yeah, and it's massive by comparison because you're like, oh yeah, I mean, I guess Milestone did only have actually how many titles did they have at that moment? Because it wasn't like nearly as many as DC
I
had.
think I think Milestone had four.
Sure. That sounds about
Mm.
right. At
They
least
they had
there's like
they
four
had
that actively
Icon,
participate.
Hardware, Static, and
Icon and Blood Syndicate.
Blood Syndicate. Yeah,
Unless I'm
Yeah, and
missing
there had
something.
been like Shadow Cabinet
right.
miniseries and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
the side ones and the yeah. Well, zombie, but
Yeah.
that's also not part of the.
Oh
That's
yeah.
Right.
even zombie is sort of its own thing, just like Vertigo is to to DC.
Yeah.
So yeah. Let's just start with initial thoughts.
All right. My initial. Well, okay. I have one real
Oh
quick.
no, please.
My initial thoughts. It was very interesting because this is a milestone podcast. I think in a lot of ways this is kind of a microcosm of America because I feel like the milestone writers, by just the way things are, seemed way more familiar. It's almost like the way like they seem way more familiar with the DC characters and lore, and I just felt like the DC guys were desperately like I don't know, just slapping stuff together. In some cases, like when it came to depicting the milestone character, and definitely like visually, holy, there was some coloring atrocities going on. I got to think as an artist,
Oof, man,
but
I didn't even really think about it, but yeah, you're
well,
not
it's
wrong.
interesting just in the sense that like Milestone, like they did have a different art process because they were doing this like, kind of like watercolor, um, hand painted style. And not that like traditional comics, they would use like Doc Martin's dyes, which are, sort of like watercolor, but Milestone was using them in like a different way, which allowed for like a greater range of colors and just like variation and softness, like kind of like what you see with MD Brights,
Hmm.
uh, with the work, the colors in Icon. I just happened to be turning past the Icon issue.
Right.
Yes,
So with that,
I don't know if they're painted exactly, but they're something is yeah.
they actually are painted. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
okay.
they have like a different they had a different process at the time, like than other comics companies. You know what I mean? So they were
Hmm.
actually like painting these. They were
Hmm.
doing a different painting process. But it's just like so with that, between that process and the fact that like, Milestone was created by not exclusively by Black creators, but actually the founding members were all Black, like, and there was a greater understanding of the diversity of Black and brown people. So you actually had like a range of skin tones. So there's some issues, I forget which ones. It might have been one of the DC issues, DC proper issues where it had the Blood Syndicate maybe. And it was almost like
Hmm.
a bunch of characters that had like a range of hues. They kind of all got painted one brown. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? But
Hmm.
anyway, I mean it's cool. I'm not trying to come out right out the gate
Well,
with all my woke
I
propaganda,
think
but there will be more.
I want to add to that though that like if you're gonna do a crossover series like this, you should be
Do your homework.
uniform.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
but I mean yeah,
I agree.
but you should be uniform. You should either, God forbid, choose to use DC's process for all of it, or choose to use Milestone's process for all of it. The whole going back and forth just, I mean, it makes it look amateur.
it's
Yeah, that's a
it's
very
jarring
good way to
sometimes.
put it.
And like it's
Yeah.
not even jarring in the sense that like I don't mean this is a bad thing, but like jumping from I don't know, MD Bright to like was it Tom Grummett or not Tom Grummett? Who am I thinking of who did like some of the Superman art at
Tom
that
Grummett
time?
was on
There's
Superman. He was.
yeah.
Tom Grummett was
Yeah,
on
that's what I'm
some
thinking of.
Superman books.
Yeah, well, going from some of the typical milestone art to like Tom Grummett was a big shift. Not in a bad way, but definitely
Yeah,
this way.
it
Like,
just
whoa, that's a
tonally, right?
yeah. Oh, completely.
Yeah,
Yeah. So there's
yeah.
The consistency is like the art is one thing, is one part of it. Not the only part.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so this is going to sound extremely weird and stupid from a guy who's on a podcast talking about superhero comics, but I don't really read that much superhero comics.
I
It's
don't think
kind of
any of
not.
us do.
Yeah, it's definitely not
Right.
my primary, the
Right.
primary stuff I seek out, and it never was. And it's a little bit. I was kind of racking my brain for like other sort of big, massive crossover event things that, especially like trying to do, inter-universal crossover, different franchises or
Hmm.
different, publishing companies crossing over. And
Yeah.
just sort of for points of comparison, because it's like, yeah, what do I have to compare this with in terms of like what it feels to have a massive mega crossover with characters from wildly different universes with different this, that, and the other. So it was uh I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to think of like whether there's a
Yeah.
good
I felt like they threw out the characters.
it's so
Yeah.
they did and they
So,
didn't.
Like on both sides.
Well, okay. So I
well,
actually
can I? Go ahead, Ted. You might be about to say the same thing I was going to say, but yeah,
so I actually feel like the Milestone books did better on that than the DC ones. Although
that's
that's
what I
partly
was going
because
to say.
and that's partly
Yeah.
because I've been reading the Milestone books, so I
Right.
maybe have more point of comparison. But it is like I'm reading like the Blood Syndicate issues. I thought were really good at that because the Blood
Right.
Syndicate issues, like they're keeping the plots going there. There was a great scene. So like the whole issue where the Blood Syndicate first appeared. Well, we should maybe say this until we actually get into the plot. But like I don't know. There's like
There
a
was a
sequence.
plot.
I think it's okay.
Vaguely. I mean, the one of in the first Blood Syndicate issue, there's this little sequence where like Kwai comes over to talk to Fade. And Kwai's
Mhm.
whole thing is that there's also like she's got like a weird time travel thing going on. So she has
Yeah.
memories of having been friends with Fade in the future. But Fade at the moment
Hmm.
doesn't know who she is. Like she helped them out fighting the Demon Fox, but she doesn't know anything about her. Her whole deal is
Right.
weird. And also Kwai is a kid. She's a little kid. She's still mentally like not, she's young. She doesn't have a whole lot of experience. And so her first thought is like, oh, I'm just gonna go over and talk to my friend Fade because I want to be friends with him even now in the past and like or whatever her
Hmm.
perspective on it is. And so she starts coming
Right.
over and starts talking to him like she's their best buds and he's naturally really suspicious and like it's just a really sweet character moment because yeah, this is a kid with her kid perspective, who's also like a superhero who can heal people and cut them in half with her hair and stuff. But like, this is a kid's perspective on the situation, and that's a really I don't know. It's a really neat little moment. It was literally like a page, but it's a good page because it's oh yeah, I do
Right.
kind of these are kind of interesting characters, and what are they kind of doing? Um. Anyway, I that's
Well,
that scene was really good. There's a lot that I'm now struggling to remember. Like oh yeah, what the hell else did happen in this series?
Well,
yeah,
and
that's how
I mean that's
yeah.
kind of the thing.
Yeah.
I'm literally reading the last three issues as we're talking. The third to last issue. Which means that I can say this with absolute certainty. There's way too much exposition. They're telling
Hmm.
while they show, and they're not
Yeah.
having any real interaction between the characters or real
Well,
conversation. There's almost no non-action sequences, so it's just like boom, 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 and the characters are reduced to like their power sets.
Yes, and there's some especially bad stuff with that when like well, we'll kind of get into it, but when we have Superboy coming in and like sort of trying
mhm,
to
with Rocket.
understand exactly what's going on, yeah, that's I mean, there's a lot I want to say about the Superman about the Superboy stuff, but um, like he's literally at the point in his story where he seems to be aware of like, oh, I guess we're all sort of company equivalents. So like, who's my? Because Icon is kind of like Superman, and Static is like, actually, who does he compare Static to? Now I forgot, but like he tries to have this moment of like, oh, I guess we're all just sort of comparison, which means, wait a minute, am I Rocket? And like, it's I don't know, it's a little too meta for its own good, and then it becomes
Right.
way too meta for its own good after that.
Oh,
So
and
like,
they both have little leather jackets.
yeah, no,
No,
that's
go ahead.
what that's literally what it is. It's the leather jacket.
Leather
Um,
jackets and tights.
it's God, you're right. God. I didn't think about that, but you're absolutely right. But yeah, like it's meta in a way I don't know. It's not great. Like
Yeah,
I have a lot of issues with kind of how this whole thing was put together, and I do have to wonder what the backstory of it is. I really
Yeah.
would love to know, like, oh yeah, how did this happen? What did you share with your counterparts on the other side of the aisle or whatever? Like, what was there's got to be some like an amazing documentary
yeah.
backstory to all this, but I don't know if we'll ever get it. But
Well,
um,
it's probably no surprise to anybody who's listened to the Milestone Book Club, but I'm often thinking about things from the Black perspective, and I will say that like I guess what I was getting at before about where this is kind of a microcosm of America is, like a lot of times when people want to complain, like, oh, why is there a black Spider-Man, et cetera, right? There's you what happens is, or just when people say like, why does there have to be a black version of anything, right? And
yeah.
the honest answer is always, and then people say like, oh, what if there was a white, etc., and the answer is always there is. It's called Marvel, it's called DC, it's called NBC, it's called everything, right? And the point being that like a lot of times black people by default will know way more about stuff that is predominantly white than the other way around. You know what I
hmm
mean? And
hmm
like in this case, you kind of see that because it's like I feel like what to your point earlier about like character stuff being thrown out. I think that happened more in the DC books and like the Milestone books. Like they get Superman. There's even like some cool stuff with Blood Syndicate where it crosses over because they literally know Superman like the way we know him as a
Yeah,
character in
Right.
media.
yeah.
You know
There's a
what I
joke
mean?
in there.
And
There's that bit where I love where like he first shows up, and I think is it Wise Sense or something like, man, why are you looking like Clark Kent over here? And he's just like, oh
yeah,
my God,
yeah.
they know my secret identity. And
Yeah, actually, I did love
that was a great
I did
joke.
kind
I
of
love
love
that.
that the DC universe exists in Dakota.
Yes.
right.
Yeah, I love that gimmick of it where it is, yes, that these characters have like their equivalents already, their comics exist. Like that's I love when universes can do that kind of stuff. And I don't want to say it's
Yeah.
rare, but it's like you don't see that a lot in anyway. Um
Right. Which actually is I think more unique to this than if it was just like, oh, we have our Superman or we have our Batman, you know what I mean, or Superboy versus, and you know what I mean, like that's been done in a lot of different ways, but I feel like this was a cool. That's one of the things I think that this did well is taking a look
mhm.
at yeah.
Yeah, it's I yeah. I mean, where
I feel like
we've kind of
this.
been,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, just I mean, where it falters is that there's no plot that makes any of this worth it. It's like there's nothing
Yeah.
particularly to recommend it beyond the idea of like, I don't know. I
You get
do
to see
like,
these characters interact.
yeah, but even then, like the way they interact isn't super satisfying for
Right.
me. Like
Right.
it's very shallow, I guess. And like even when I said that I like the Blood Syndicate issues, I like those because they're like Blood Syndicate issues, which then get interrupted halfway through to have like Superman in them, which is not great. Like I'd rather
Yeah.
just read a regular Blood Syndicate issue. That would be so much better. But it's so okay. So I think I said that like I was going through my head to think of other crossover. Yeah, I was talking about other crossovers and like what do you do to sort of make the inter-universal crossovers happen? And like the ones that I was coming up with were like, oh, there was the Busiek JLA Avengers series. There was the Wildcats JLA crossover from Grant Morrison's run. There was, I don't know. I'm sure I'm not thinking of them all, but like there was a bunch of those. And actually, this was something I brought up beforehand that we don't really need to get into unless we really want to. But in '96, there was this crossover called Shattered Image, which was a crossover between all the Image books, which at that time still had this pretense of all being in the same universe. Like all the old Wildstorm books and Spawn and Savage Dragon were just like in the same universe. And of course, that immediately started
Mhm.
like that started disintegrating as the comic was coming out. So they had to alter pages as the comic was being published. But like anyway, there was a whole thread up posted on it recently on Twitter by a guy whose Twitter handle is Comrade Bulski, Bullski. If anyone wants to look it up, it's fascinating. I didn't know any of this, but anyway, I'm getting off track. But like whenever you have these like crossovers between different franchises, it's always a struggle just to have them happen in the first place. Because like, yeah, how does Superman and how do the DC and the Milestone characters meet up? And in this case, it's always going to be like, well, there's a cosmic thing, in Milestone in the
Mhm.
Wildstorm and JLA crossover, or not Wildstorm, in the JLA Wildcats crossover, there was a guy who had some cosmic time travel nonsense that punched a hole to the other reality. In JLA Avengers, it was two reality altering dudes on either side of the cosmos decided they would have a contest between their two universes. Like, you've got to have the big cosmic dude who comes in and is like, I want to have my action figures punch each other, and that's what they do. Um, but the way
Also,
that
quick
this,
interjection.
sure,
Was it wasn't it Superboy who punched a hole in reality uh
yeah,
to bring Jason Todd back?
that
Right? Am I
was
wrong?
Well,
Or
that
was that
happened as a result of it. That was not Final Crisis, not Infinite Crisis. Was it Infinite Crisis?
just
But there
I
was
can't
Crisis of Infinite
remember.
Earths, and then was there Infinite Crisis? Was that the one where they brought back the guys who had been,
Jason.
well, among other things, because it was a thing. God, I don't know why I know this because I just got done talking about how I don't read superhero comics. But like, it was a thing where, like, at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths, all the like Golden Age guys, Golden Age Superman and Lois Lane get to live in like a reality, or utopian reality on the other side of time or whatever. But then Superboy like gets pissed because our universe starts having swears in it and stuff. So he punches a hole to our reality to make us all live like good Christian boys and girls. And like as a result of him pounding on the reality wall, a bunch of stuff gets retconned. Like that's literally how they handled some
Right,
of
right.
that.
That's what it was.
Why do I know
And
this?
that
God.
gave birth to yeah.
Yeah, that
All
break
right,
by
anyway,
Dave.
sorry for the tangent.
No, no, no. I mean, it's worth remembering that there are dumber things in comics.
Yeah.
But
Well, you know what it comes down to is like, and I swear I'll let you get back to what you're talking
no,
about,
no,
but it's
yeah,
all right. So, and I mean, I guess maybe of the three of us, maybe I read the most superheroes. I read definitely more indie. I'd say I'm probably like 70-30 indie versus indie over superheroes, right? But I do read like superhero stuff and obviously the classic stuff. But one thing I will say, right, when it comes to events, we know as adults, and even as kids to a certain extent, but definitely as adults, that the companies have an idea that they want to make happen, and they're like, all right, how do we take our toys and make, position them so we can make this cool thing happen? You know what I
yeah,
mean? And sometimes it's like they hide the strings better than others. And
yeah.
I feel like in this one, it's like the strings aren't like super hidden.
They're not even
It's just
trying.
kind of like, look, we want to put these guys together, and like the initial conceit of a which I guess we should say, I don't necessarily. This is so long that I don't necessarily think we need to do a full blow by blow recap. But what I will say, like the broad strokes, right, is that it begins because there's this young man who's a postal worker. What's his name? Um,
Oh God, I've
Fred
forgotten
I
now.
don't
Benson.
even remember.
Fred, yeah. So I actually, so
Right. Yeah.
the thing that I like is like the initial premise is so low
Yeah.
stakes because rather than having the two
Yes.
cosmic dudes who want whole universes to slug it out, it's this guy who's a mailman who is just like, yeah, every time I fall asleep, I wake up in the other universe, and like,
Yeah.
I'm a postal worker in both Metropolis and Dakota, and like that's just how it
Yeah.
works. And I thought that was hilarious and great. Like I love that that was the
And
whole thing is,
horrifying for anybody
yeah,
who's who's been stuck in unsatisfying work
oh,
environments. It's kind
well, but
of like your whole life is going to bed and
and waking up in
going
another low
waking up and
minimum.
going to work somewhere else.
Oh
Yeah,
God, I never thought of it like that. But I kind of like that he was just kind of content to roll with it. He's like, yeah, I go to sleep here, I wake up there, it's fine, whatever. I
yeah,
like that he was sort of so blasé about it. That I
yeah.
thought that was
But then
fun. I thought,
yeah, he was. But then I felt like it at a certain point it kind of took on more horror elements. Like you kind of saw
yes,
him like being terrified. So like that initial stuff I thought was cool. Like, just that premise of this guy, and you can't make sense of this situation, which if you put yourself in his shoes is pretty terrifying.
yeah.
And you see him kind of devolving.
Yeah, I
But
think there's something to the idea that like because then it becomes a thing where it's like, oh, actually I have these terrible nightmares when I fall asleep and like I see
yeah,
these monsters in my dreams and it's that would have been kind of a cooler hook almost. Like I like the idea that
hmm
he's I would have liked to have seen sort of more make that a really horrifying presence where it's
right,
like, yeah, every time I fall asleep, I don't know what reality I'm in, or like what if he doesn't sleep at all? What if it's like, yeah, whenever I try to sleep, I just immediately go to the other world. Like that would be even more horrifying to
Hmm.
me. But
Yeah, and actually,
but
as you're talking about it, I'm like, well, that's kind of a missed opportunity to not cross it over with Zombie, because
right?
Zombie
Oh
did all kinds of like
yeah.
weird horror
Oh
stuff.
God, you're right.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. But I mean, and this is one of the other intercompany crossovers I just remembered I had thought of was the Planetary Batman crossover,
Mhm.
which was only like one issue. And I know it's
It's good.
Warren Ellis, so yeah. I mean, it was fun. It was fun for what it was.
It's good.
But the gimmick of it was like the planetary team goes to their field office in Gotham, which in this world doesn't have any superheroes and is just like the worst place on earth. And uh like they meet with the local guys who are isn't it Dick Grayson and a guy whose name is Joe Kerr, who's like
Something like
constantly
that.
giggling and laughing to himself and like really creepy and weird. It's kind of dumb on some level. That's dumb on every level. It's comics. But like
Right.
the gimmick of it more or less was that like the guy they were chasing, the guy they came out to Gotham to find, was this guy who was unintentionally jumping between parallel realities. So he kept jumping into different versions of Gotham, many of which, of course, had a
Mhm.
Batman in them, but different versions of Batman. So they'd run into like the '66 Batman, they'd run into the Dark Knight Returns Batman, they'd run into the what was the other one? I think they just did like kind of classic Batman. They did like 1930s Batman, but the idea was they didn't have any idea who this character was, but they kept seeing all these different versions of him.
Mhm.
And this guy was terrified of the idea that like I don't have any control over this. I don't know where I'm going to end up. And I liked that horror aspect of it more than the thing of this, where I mean I do, like I said, I do like the low stakes aspect of it where he was just sort of like, yeah, you know, I just have two jobs in two different universes, whatever. Like I do like that it's not some struggle for cosmic dominance or whatever, but it also doesn't particularly
Mhm.
lean into anything more interesting than that. So anyway,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, so for Fred Milt Benson, what's his name? I don't
Fred Benson. Yeah.
Benson.
You're right.
Yeah, he keeps jumping between Metropolis and Goth and Dakota. And first of all, Metropolis has apparently gone through some sort of other like battle nonsense where like Luther destroyed most of the city or something. So
Right. That
it's
I
Right.
have no idea about.
yeah, we have zero context for it. It's like, oh, the city's already all messed up because Luther did something. I don't, it's not super clear, whatever.
Luther's
But
always doing something, but yeah, he
oh,
really
Luther's
did.
always, yeah, who knows,
Yeah.
man. But it is like he's anyway. But yeah, he's like Metropolis is already messed up, and now
Mhm.
some other nonsense is happening, and uh. Is there even like an inciting incident, or is it just like people on both sides of reality happen to find this Fred Benson at the same time? I forget even. It's so
I
So
think
that's a good
it's
question. Yeah, I think it just happens that way. And like to your point, what you were describing about Metropolis, we jump in and it's already obviously previously been happening in previous issues. But yeah, I don't know that there is. I think we just kind of get introduced to Fred Benson, so we don't necessarily know how long. I'm sure at some point in the exposition they said how long, but it's
yeah,
been
but it's
happening.
yeah, I mean, again, the fact that he doesn't really have any major reactions is kind of funny, but it also means that there's no real stakes at first, and it's just like
Mhm.
somebody on both sides of the universe. In Dakota, it's Alva. In Metropolis, it's some forgotten '90s villain in a cool suit of armor. His name was Hazard.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh
Um,
yeah, yep.
they both find him and they're like, ah, let's do unethical science experiments on him. And then they do. And of course, like two different universes are experimenting on this guy simultaneously. So it
Mhm.
quickly goes crazy and like people start shifting between realities. Superman gets pulled into Dakota and he fights. Does he fight? He doesn't fight Icon for a little while at least. Maybe is it
No, that
Icon goes
comes
to
later. That happens
That
later.
comes later.
yeah, like
Yeah, and even when
Hardware goes
Icon
to
and Superman, sorry, even when Icon and Superman fight, it's isn't that when they're forced to fight by
Right.
yeah, that's
by
much later. You're right.
When Rift
yeah,
forces
yeah,
them to fight.
yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
And
So
then
then
they yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Sorry.
yeah, because also eventually it does become just standard comics crossover 101 where like Fred
Yeah.
Benson is like, okay, things have been going on long enough. I guess it's time for me to go crazy and try to destroy all universes. So he does,
Right.
and he becomes this massive glowing godlike being called Rift, who's like, I must see which universe. No, he actually has even more of a god complex where
Oh,
he's like, I must have created these two universes.
Right.
That's why
that's
they're
right.
so similar.
I was gonna ask you since it's been a little while since I read this, what was the turning point? I forget what the turning point for him
It and
was.
Worlds Collide, you get all meta about like I mean, like the first half of the Worlds Collide one shot is like it's almost criticism of how bad the last 6 or 8 issues have been. I mean, it's talking about bad
Mhm.
dialogue in comics. He's just, and then like the Fred decides, oh, wait a minute, no, no, I, I'm not dreaming this. I'm creating this.
Yeah, there's even a little digression about like, oh, when I was a kid, I had all these, dumb
Right,
comic superheroes, and then those heroes come to
Mhm.
life, and it's like
right,
Captain Super Nazi Puncher and Fabulous
right.
Man, and then they start
Oh yeah,
fighting
and don't
everybody.
they? That's right. And don't they play around? I mean, obviously for us as the readers, we're like, all right, clearly our heroes are real, but they kind of play around with him being like, you guys are all made up. I made you up,
Yep.
But that's mostly we mostly get it in his mind because I don't think we question it as readers.
Yes, and I do. I mean, there's some existential nonsense. I mean, okay, so there is some existential stuff of like, well, Superboy's like, well, wait a minute, what if I'm not even real? And I think someone, I don't remember who, maybe it was Rocket, even says like, man, stuff with the existential stuff, we got some stuff to do. It's like, yeah, we
Yeah,
get it, we get what you're doing here, guys.
which I
Um,
felt that in my bones.
yeah, I mean, well, I
I
mean,
feel
me,
like that's when you're like the lone like black coworker and everybody's freaking out and you're like, guys, come on, just chill out. Like let's just take care of stuff.
there is that, but also like, I mean, you can still do fun, kind of weird existential stuff in these big crossovers. I reread Secret Wars a little while ago. I don't remember if
Mhm.
it's Secret War or Secret Wars, the original one, the 90, the
The
80s.
original,
You know,
not
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
yeah,
Secret War. Secret War is the Bendis 5 issue
that's
Nick
right.
Fury thing. Yeah.
Yes. And then there was also, though, then there was the
The
90s or the
Hickman
the
the
2015 Secret.
2000s
Yes.
Secret Wars, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
To reset
That's
the universes.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I was reading the original Secret Wars because I don't know, someone had mentioned it to me and I wanted to reread it. And like the bit where Doom is like preparing himself to finally challenge the Beyonder for power to create the universe, and he's already stolen the power of Galactus, and he's got this, set of armor that's going to analyze the Beyonder's power, but he's like getting flayed alive as he's trying to control the Beyonder's power, and he has to. And then when he does get it, he's tormented by his own human failings, and like there's some fun stuff to it. Like it's still superhero comics nonsense,
Hmm.
but like that I'm kind of here for. And like I dig the
Yeah.
idea of Doctor Doom being, the only one being who's powerful enough to, you know, deal with, cause problems for Doctor Doom is Doctor Doom himself.
Right.
Like I love that. So
Right.
there's some fun stuff to it, but it's overall just like no, there's not. I don't know. Crossovers.
Right. And Secret Wars famously was I believe wasn't it made to sell the toys? Because I
Oh,
remember the
completely.
toys.
Yeah.
I
So
as
that
a
was
kid, I love those toys.
Oh, the
that
fantastic choice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that was the joke, not the joke, but like the real thing was that they literally, in order to decide the title of that comic, they looked at like
Mhm.
what words were the most like gave the most interest to kids, and it was secret and war, and like that's that's why they chose
Right.
the title. Yeah, but yeah, I mean it like no, it wasn't particularly highbrow, but they still had fun stuff with it. Like there were still elements of like, oh yeah, what do these what would it be like for a man to have the power of a god but not the ability to control it? There's, it's Shakespeare, it's not, but it's fun. So like
Yeah.
this is just Rift kind of goes crazy and then is like, well, if these two universes are so similar, I should just have them fight and figure out which one is better. And then there's a whole, is it the Blood Syndicate issue where it's just like meta commentary jokes on current comics trends, where it's like they come up with different
Oh,
versions of the team.
somewhere.
It's
Yeah,
like,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah. So eventually,
Yeah. It
Rift,
was a Blood Syndicate issue because I remember I had
yeah,
that issue in single issue form. I remember that one.
yeah. So eventually, it becomes a thing where he decides, like, well, clearly, worlds must live, worlds must die. I gotta, like some of you guys have to die because you're clearly one of version of you is the inferior version. So he starts having them fight. Um,
Hmm.
there's some stuff for like Icon Static and or no, Rocket Static and Superboy team up, which is kind of fun actually.
Superboy,
Like
yeah.
I like seeing the three of them
It
team
is.
up.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like that they, they're the interesting teen heroes and they all kind of have different perspectives on it, but like they're the yeah, I liked their interactions. Those were fun. And then
Yeah.
eventually Icon and Superman, of course, have to fight because, like, logically, what else do you do? Steel and Hardware. So Steel and Hardware fight at first, and then later on they team up in order to build the device that will, the thing that will solve the problems. They build the machine that will
Hmm.
solve all problems by killing Rift or no, by depowering Rift. But Hardware is like, well, I'm the pragmatist here. I'm going to include an override that will just straight up kill Rift. And then Steel, of course, is like, what are you doing? We're superheroes. We can't kill people. Um, and they go back and forth for a while, but eventually Hardware is like, I guess you're right. We're in a DC comic. I can't kill anybody. So I'm
Yeah,
kind of
that
skipping
happened
over.
like way too fast for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
It's
kind of
like
skipping
hardware
over.
just gives in.
Yeah, it was literally like one panel to the next. He's like, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. We'll try
Right.
it your way. It's
Yeah.
like, I
And
don't.
actually, wait, yeah, can I say briefly on that note? So to an earlier point, I think, the Milestone books do still carry over some of the interesting character stuff we've been seeing. Like, for instance, we do see Hardware when he first shows up grappling with like, you know, guilt over siding with Alva, right?
Yeah,
And like, so we get that. But then it's like, yeah, to your point, it's kind of like there's you can see the larger dictate of all right, we need to get to point A, like, or point B, in kind of rushing the story forward. So I guess that's all I want to say. Like, it it's like even some of the milestone books, you see them being like, wait, we want to continue some of this cool character stuff we've been doing, but they're like, but we gotta
we gotta
we
have him
gotta
punch,
mash the
man.
action figures
Yeah,
together.
they gotta
Yeah,
they gotta punch. And like and as
yeah.
the series goes on, it feels more and more like this is the editorial edict, guys. You gotta have him punch. Like literally Rift is like,
Hmm.
well, let's see who's better at punching. And yeah, and it's I mean, I get it, I get the joke, but it's also not particularly funny. So I don't know. And then the Blood Syndicate thing where they are literally like what is it? It's like the ex-gang members and they're all like parodies
Yes.
of
Well,
yeah.
and that's
Yeah,
after the
I
classroom
enjoyed that.
time.
Yeah, oh, the
Yeah.
classroom time
Yes,
thing, which
yes.
is
Yeah, no, I am reading this episode or that issue as we speak, and it's far and away my favorite issue so far in all of the entire thing. I don't quite
Yeah,
know how it actually plays into the rest of it.
I actually dislike it a little
yeah.
bit just because I feel like they could have pushed it even more. And also, I'm a little bit, I guess not annoyed, but like it's all specifically like parodies of English schoolboys, which is not
Right.
exactly what you want to parody here, where they're all like using like stupid British slang from 20th, turn of the century boys adventure novel. I don't know. I feel like they were using the wrong fake kid lit metaphor. I don't know. That's a smaller issue. Um, but yeah, like they have the thing where they're in like, oh, they're all in a classroom learning how to be good citizens because Christopher Columbus discovered America and wasn't he wonderful?
And he
And then
brought
they,
pasta and olive oil.
yes, and all the natives were so intimidated by him because he was so cool and buff. But then
Right.
then they realized he was a better person than they were. Yeah, like I get the point. It's a little
But I
heavy
did
handed, but
I appreciate it in the sense of just
it
them,
was
you know, because if I'm not, I'm quickly rereading it, but if I'm not mistaken, didn't basically, I don't know if it was Wise Son or everybody was just like calling nonsense
yeah.
on that
I
version
do
of
like
the
that basically what
series,
saves the
right?
day is that Wise Son is just such a contrarian asshole that he's just like, no, man. And like, yeah, great.
Okay,
Bust
but
out of
that's an
yeah.
okay thing to be a contrarian asshole about.
No,
I
it
don't
is.
even think
That's
that's an asshole.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I mean, like, was what I mean is like Wyson has always been the contrarian asshole. Like, literally in the first
right,
issue, he gets introduced when he like makes fun of Roz Chaplik and Brickhouse punches him through the floor. Like, it's that
right,
like
right,
he's always been the contrarian asshole. It's fun to see that be like the thing that saves the day. So I
right.
don't know, but yeah, it's then they bust out of that, and then he's like, oh, okay, well maybe we'll try making you more marketable. So he turns them into the ex gangsters, where they're all like designed after X-Men characters. And this, like, the one thing that this made me really think of was there was the Grant Morrison issue of Doom Patrol that was the Doom Force issue. Does anyone else remember
Mhm.
this?
Oh,
It was
no, no.
it's I mean it was like I don't think it gets included in any of the collections because it might be or maybe I don't remember. But like when Morrison was writing Doom Patrol, they did an issue called Doom Force, which was just a parody of
Mhm.
all the like image
The
X-Force
X-Force books.
trends. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, deliberately over the top art, very Liefeldian early image stuff. Anyway, but like it was doing the thing where it was like, yeah, these people are making incredible poses and stuff like that, and their costumes are so silly, which
Mhm.
incidentally, I mean, some of the Milestone costumes are already kind of silly. Like Flashback's costume doesn't really need to look like that.
Right.
That's a whole
But
other thing.
to this point, because I've actually been waiting to kind of talk about this, just in the sense that, so obviously, just being of the early 90s, right, Milestone is going to bear some markers of comics trends and happenings in the 90s and styles. But I will say that, like, literally jumping from issue to issue between, what's going on in a lot of the mainstream DC books at the time and Milestone, you're like, oh, okay. Like, to your point, like, yeah, you have stuff like flashback, and I've definitely commented on Raquel's costume, especially the boob window for a
The
young
cleavage
girl.
hole. That
Yeah,
actually, by the way, I
but
don't know if
yeah,
you.
but
I
no,
was
go
just going to
ahead.
say that,
Sorry.
like, in a later issue, like the
It
cleavage
gets
window
addressed, right?
like gets directly referenced as a thing that, like, hey, don't,
Well,
maybe we shouldn't do that.
because Superboy asks her name while staring at it, and she's like,
Yeah.
Right,
I'm not wearing a name tag there. Eyes front.
right.
And then she thinks to herself, maybe Icon's got a point about like
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. Yeah. But
Yeah.
my point was only just that like it gets kind of glaring as you jump back and forth, where like Milestone is doing different unique things and living in and wearing some of the markers of the early 90s comic
Right.
trends, and the you jump into DC books and they're like all in on
Oh
some of
yeah.
that stuff,
Yeah, no,
what I
I
mean?
can't hate on the Milestone books because it really is leagues different if you actually look at other stuff. No, it's yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. It just bugged me because it's like, yeah, I mean, some of them already have the weird boobs and butt poses, and anyway. Um,
Sure.
but yeah, so I mean, they have these weird parodies. Icon and Superman are forced to fight because Rift is like, okay, well, I'm just going to destroy whoever universes loses this. I'm just going to make you fight because whoever loses,
Mhm.
their universe will get destroyed. So they finally get to slug each other out, and they go back and forth. And eventually, they're like, hey, this is dumb. We built a machine to solve all the problems. Why don't we just distract him and use that to solve all the problems? And they do, and they get the machine, and it somehow fixes everything, and the universes are together again, and everything's great. It's
Yeah, I do kind of like the Superman icon. We're like, we're not really gonna do this, right? Like,
yeah,
if I
I do
remember
like that at
correctly,
first they are,
I don't
yeah.
think they fought very. I don't think they fought very long, did they?
no,
It's
they had more of a real fight when he put both cities on the line. It's like
yeah,
That's right.
Superman,
That's
I
right.
can remake Metropolis if you beat Icon. Icon, watch, I'm
Mhm.
gonna destroy Dakota, but I'll bring it back if you beat up Superman.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's I mean, it is
And then they
yeah,
both get into their egos because they're like, I'll do my best to save Metropolis, but I can't trust him to save Dakota, so I have to beat him.
Right, right,
I'll
right.
do my best to save Dakota, but I can't trust him to save Metropolis, so I have to beat him.
yeah, that's I mean, that was okay. That was kind of fun, I guess. But yeah,
I
eventually the
actually
day
would
is
I
like
saved.
don't
a
know if I'll
good
go as far
icon
as
Superman crossover.
fun, but we were at least like interesting by that point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
fair.
would
Yeah.
be interested to read a good icon Superman, like a focused one, not with
Right.
like all these characters, but if they had like a good icon Superman crossover,
Well, and also
I could
like
definitely be compelled to
and
read
not
that.
just a crossover, but like, see them actually sort of doing something together because that's always the
Right.
appeal of
That's what
this.
I'm
Like,
saying. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like so okay, so I mentioned some of my points of comparison for like other, inter universe crossovers. And one of the ones I was thinking of
Mhm.
was the JLA Avengers, the Kurt Busiek thing from
Right.
oh God, I don't even remember the it's 2015, isn't it? I forget. Um and like there's a really one of my favorite fights like in comics happens in that issue, which is Batman and Captain America face off for the first time. And what happens is there's this sequence where like they just kind of stare at each other on the rooftop. They're sort of in a position where they realize they should probably be fighting each other, but like they're just
Mhm.
staring at each other across the rooftop. And like one of them makes one of them makes a feint, the other blocks. One of them does a kick, the other dodges.
Mhm.
Um, they circle each other like panthers or something like that. And then finally, Batman is just like, okay, you could probably beat me given enough time, but clearly something else is going on here. So how about we just call it off and like solve the problem? And he's like, yeah, okay. And I love how it's sort of incredibly anticlimactic that fight is because it's clearly like, no, what I want to see is Captain America and Batman teaming up and doing cool stuff. Like it doesn't matter who's stronger. It
Mhm.
matters if like they do Batman and Captain America stuff. And that was, I don't know, that's sort of my
Yeah.
benchmark for like
Yeah, I
really
know what
good.
you mean. I definitely like. Yeah, I like interesting team ups more than I do like, oh, we're gonna slug it out. Because half the time, even
Yes.
when they slug it out, it's like, all right, but we're just slugging it out to get to the team up, and they're going to do it.
Yeah,
Like
it's
one
the
one that I two that I read in the last year were the Spider-Man Superman crossover
oh,
and
yeah.
the Hulk and Batman one. Did you
Okay.
guys read those?
I No, wait, they were not recent ones. Those are like from the 90s, aren't they? Or
No, no, that's like yeah, possibly late 80s, if not early
oh,
90s.
okay, like earlier than that. Okay.
Um,
For some reason I thought they were maybe
yeah,
more
they're
recent.
pretty old, like maybe early 90s. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Um
they were cool. It's like yeah, go ahead. Well, yeah, that's a whole other thing.
no, I'm curious now because I want to know like, yeah, what made those a better crossover and what was more interesting about them than they
So I don't know that they're better. Well, one thing is they were cohesive, right? Because like you just had one creative team, so you weren't jumping back and forth between people who were like drastically different. You
yeah.
know, oh God, what's that guy's name? The one I mean, the main draw for the Batman Hulk one is the art. What is that dude's
It's
name?
not Mignola, was
It's
no,
right
that
on
was
the
a
tip of
different
my
one.
tongue. No, no,
Mignola
not Mignola. It's gonna bother me. I gotta look it up. It's like I know his name, but it's not coming to my head.
yeah,
It's
no, I get you.
well, anyway, what I
Garcia
enjoyed about it
Lopez,
though is that's right, Garcia Lopez. Yeah, like
Oh
he
yeah,
just
okay.
is like
Jose Luis
really,
Garcia
really,
Lopez,
yeah, like he's really dope just with like the human
Nick
form.
Giordano,
He he
and
pl
Len Wein.
yeah, he plays around a lot with like in cool ways with I don't know, panel stuff and design, you know what I mean? And he's just really good with form. So I mean for me just it was more just a feast for the eyes, if I'm being
Yes.
real. That was the main draw. And cool, and seeing Batman and some silly Joker stuff. The Spider-Man Superman one that was pretty good. They they managed to do that thing which comics, I swear to God, like this again, this is why we need all kinds of people telling comic book stories. Because they have this incomprehensible plot line where I don't even know how they end up in quote unquote Africa. And
Oof.
you just have like it's just the most obvious it's so obvious that there was not a lick of research done on anything. You know what I mean? It's what I talk about all the time where comics will writers and artists will painstakingly research like France or the moon or something like that. But when it comes time to draw like black people or Africa or anything, they're like, oh, I don't know, just draw the first thing that pops in my head. You know what I mean? But there was some really rough stuff in that. But overall, the book was pretty good. It has some classic it was cool because like what I really loved about the successes of them is I feel like because you had creators from both universes really collabing, um, they drew on like what conflicts and stuff like Clark and Superman were having in his current books, like like Morgan Edge and all his nonsense and like and Luthor and then like Spider-Man, you got like kind of up to the minute Spider-Man nonsense. They kind of like brought that together in a cool way. Anyway, I feel like maybe we should just do those on a different show, but instead of taking time now. But I enjoyed them for what they were.
Sure.
Um, I think they contain the messiness that all crossovers kind of have because they're just trying to figure out how to mash the action figures together. At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Yeah, and I
one
mean it's
crossover did. Oh yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, there's
no,
nothing
you go
wrong with
ahead.
mashing action
Yeah,
figures together, man. Like that's what action figures are kind of
yeah,
for, but it's also like,
right, right,
you know, I don't know. There can be more to it. A really good writer, like I
yeah.
was saying about the current, like, the Secret Wars, or even Busiek's
Mhm,
JLA Avengers has some really good stuff, and there's some good character moments.
mhm.
And this is, it helps that he's a guy who's written for both JLA and the Avengers and has done like literally every comics universe you can imagine, including his own, So like
Yeah.
there's that. I mean, that's fun for some of the craft, and then there's stuff like Secret Wars, which really is genuinely has some cool ideas to it and is a little more thoughtful than just action figure mashing. But like, there's different ways to approach a crossover, and this one unfortunately kind of tried all of them and didn't quite stick the landing on any of them because like it did try to do the thing where
Right.
it was like, oh, here's a meta commentary on the state of comics in 19 whenever this came out. I actually am not remembering right now. And
Mhm.
it. I don't I got the gist of what it was doing in that Blood Syndicate issue, but I just don't, it just didn't do it for me. I can't really. It did not like the joke in that issue kind of wore thin for me. So maybe that was just me, but it did nothing for me. Um anyway, sorry, I'm kind of
I kind of
I
forgotten about it till we talked about it.
it's I don't know. There would have
Yeah.
been better ways to do it, I guess, but like I don't know.
I think this was, I think this was a crossover that had some cool stuff and was fun. I just think it could have done with being shorter. Like this could have been 6 issues.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I
You know what I
easily.
think
mean? I
I
mean,
think that everything before Worlds Collide could probably have been crammed into an issue, or even the first
yeah,
five
yeah.
pages of Worlds Collide,
Yes.
and you could almost go. I mean, that's really where it becomes interesting.
Mhm.
I still don't know that it's great, though. I'm liking these last two issues. These last two issues, the
What were the
last Blood
last?
Syndicate and the last Static.
Yeah, so the Blood
The
Syndicate issue. Yeah, sorry.
the Static one is the one that is takeoff on Legion of Superheroes. So he's like put
Yeah.
them in the future. They've got to
Mhm.
figure out how to fix it. Um,
That was kind of fun.
the Blood Syndicate one, I know that it had the school scene, but that was only actually a couple of pages
Right, and I can't
until
actually
they
hate
kind
on
of
it too
broke
much.
out of that.
I did like the
Yeah.
idea of it. I just feel like the execution was maybe not as I
I
don't
don't
know.
think it bothered me because, yeah, I just
Uh,
felt like it was like it could have been. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't even feel like that was a focal point. Also,
It
for
wasn't.
context,
I mean,
I
it
randomly
was
read
the
that.
beginning
Yeah,
of we're going to completely start warping reality.
yeah.
yeah.
You know, the pages before that, you've got some like uh you've got a if you guys have your phone books in front of you on page 687 in the top corner, you know, everybody's like rubber.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there is some creative art in those issues.
You know,
Um,
well, but it's not. I mean, it's not just creative art. It's
reality is breaking down and
yeah, it's
Yeah.
showing the way both Rift is unraveling, but Rift is unraveling because of the way he's getting hammered by these people. Um, I I I I love this line. Is literally where I'm at in terms of my reading. Um, Rocket says to Static, "Look, Superboy isn't real, but Dakota is," which is actually something that occurred to me. Um, it's funny that there's even like a strong debate over what's real to 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 Fred, because like if one universe is comic books in the other universe,
Yeah,
then
wouldn't that
the
be
only
the
universe
yeah.
that can be real is the one where that has comic books of the other one, right?
Right.
it's
Logically, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's I
If you
mean
think about
I
Which
yeah.
actually that I mean, as I really think of it, that takes us to a really meta question.
Oh
Because
boy.
Fred is the white mailman in a hero full of diverse superhero, in a world full of diverse superheroes who dreams of a world of white superheroes.
Or vice
it.
versa.
Well, except that, again, Static
Yeah, Fred
and
is an agent of
Icon
white
and
supremacy,
whatnot are
yes.
not comic books inside of Superman's world.
That's okay, true, good point. Yes, I see what you're getting at now. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's
And
the
also in that superhero world, they don't know how to correctly color the black characters. Okay, also can I jump in real quick? Look. I'm on record. I love the Simonsons. I love them to get
Yeah,
Wheezy
yeah.
and Walt together and on their own. Uh, I had to double check who wrote that first Superman issue because it does one of the cardinal things from the comics of my childhood, the mainstream comic books, which is trying to poorly trying to write black dialogue. Because this was one of the ones Because what's Metropolis's black neighbor, diverse neighborhood is Suicide Slum, I believe, and like that issue takes place in Suicide Slum, and I mean, for what it's worth, like when I used to read Superman, I appreciate that they tried, but but then they would be really clumsy too. And like I read a lot more of the '80s stuff where they were trying to deal with like the gang situation in Superman books. And I really wasn't reading this '90s Superman run, but they do this thing where they're trying to write black dialogue, and no black person ever says a D when they say and. It's always
Ooh,
and then like and then also just they do this thing which is that I think a lot of white writers don't get, which is they think when they're trying to write black dialect that it's that black people don't know how to speak quote unquote proper words. And we all do, but it's like, it's dialect and it's speech patterns that you fall into like out of familiarity with people you know. You know what I mean? But a lot of people uh we know how to say and. You know what I'm saying? I guess that's my
yeah.
point. And a lot of the other clumsy
Well,
dialect
this is
cues
what
that they would
this
do.
is where I'll say that both you and David, and Big Jim and the White Boy available in October, and Percival Everett and James available right now, actually play on that quite a bit, very well and very intelligently,
All
and
right.
people should pick up both of those books,
Thank you. And thank you for the
particularly Big
plug.
Jim and the White
No,
Boy.
yes, thank you. Yeah. But anyway, but I love Louise Simonson. Seriously, like some of my favorite
Yeah.
books ever are by them. But but that's the thing. Being a black comic book fan is even your favorites will just do some stuff where you're like, guys, just don't you know anybody who doesn't look like you? Yeah. So anyway, that's small rant, but
I mean, understandable rant, and like, no, it's yeah. I I don't know. I don't know if I have anything intelligent to add to that because I mean, you said
yeah, no, it's just
no. It's yeah, um, yeah. That I was kind of keeping an eye out for it just to see like, can I spot writers not knowing how to write people of another race? And there was some of that I was just like, oh yeah, not so much. No.
yeah.
Um, yeah. It's
And I almost
there's
felt like in some of the DC books when they would try to like write some of the Milestone characters, it was almost like they just tried to keep it really surface. Almost so they didn't make a mistake. You know what I mean? Like they kind of
Yeah.
did,
oh
which I mean, I guess it's better than if they tried too hard and uh, you know, did something weird.
yeah, they have to be a credit to their race. I mean,
Well, and that's another question. Why not, like, I mean, particularly because they kind of deliberately paired people. Why not have like the Steel books co-written by McDuffie? Why not have the Superman
Yeah.
books co-written? You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, and it could be that we just hadn't done as many crossover events at the time. I mean, crossover
Right.
events now are like they still don't always do great, but it's not because the creative teams don't work together. Does that make sense?
I know
You
what you
know
mean.
that
I know what you mean
they
because
they
like
have they
now
have they have like
they'll be like
retreats
kind of
and
like
they
a
have Slack
showrunner.
channels. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a writer's room type thing to do the events now, and this doesn't feel like that. This
Right.
yeah.
No,
feels like
you're
they
right.
barely knew what the last issue. They barely knew what the issue that they were following had done.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they very well could have been writing simultaneously too. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like some of these, I'm like, wow, did they even make? They might have just gotten a beat. Like this is gonna end like this.
Right.
Just get it written. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that some of these books it could have happened that way.
yeah, I mean, another crossover I did read sort of at a friend's urging at one point was Maximum Carnage, the Spider-Man thing, in
Oh,
which
oh
yeah,
yeah.
like
The
depending on
original
who
one or the
was
newer one?
the older one, the
Okay.
90s one. And like depending on who was writing which issue, it really varied as
Mm.
to whether Carnage was like a super intelligent serial killer type or like just a crazy man who loves violence and revenge. And like it was just sort of completely up to the whims of whoever was writing that issue. And it's like, yeah, somebody, some people got the memo and some people didn't, So
Well, I mean, I think anytime a big crossover event actually works well, whether they're officially in the role or not, you have somebody who's playing the role of kind of strong showrunner type. You
yeah.
know, Joe Illidge did it with uh No Man's Land. Matt
Hmm.
Fraction and
Yeah.
Brian Bendis did it with Secret Wars, or not Secret Wars,
Right.
Civil War. I'm actually kind of they're making it clear that they're not calling it an event as much as kind of a universe shift and whatnot. But I'm kind of excited to see what Scott Snyder and Josh Williamson will be doing with this DC All In, where they're trying to like bring out the heroes and why they're relevant, and but they clearly have a unified vision that they're working throughout the entire universe. Uh but that's what it
Yeah.
takes. I mean, to
Yeah.
make the big crossover stuff work, it takes someone or a couple people who like their primary focus is making certain that it works. They're not
Yeah.
even
Right.
necessarily doing the bulk of the work, or even just because of the way comics work, having their name on as much of it, but they're making certain
Right.
that it works.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
ideally, that was the point behind like Civil War. Is it was the Mark
Right.
Miller's baby? It was ideally it was the idea behind. I had another example in mind, and now I've forgotten what it was. But like even Civil War, infamously, had a whole bunch of things of like, well, is Reed Richards like a sociopath who's sticking people in the negative zone, or is he
Right.
conflicted about his role in this all? It's like it really a lot of stuff did end up depending on the writer of each issue,
Right.
or each
Hmm.
series. It's Yeah, I also kind of wonder like who got the memos and who didn't, and there's just I mean there's no way to know obviously that, but it's like I
Well,
really
and then the
Yeah.
other thing is, and I just realized this because I was looking at the Worlds Collide Wikipedia entry. Um, it- it- the whole thing essentially didn't matter at all for DC because it was immediately followed by Zero Hour.
oh God, like yeah that was right. Oh my God, I didn't even realize that was like yeah right around the same
So
time.
so 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 while it was something that like continued to have happened in the Dakota verse, like immediately afterwards, DC canceled out everything that had happened, not just in this, but like essentially back to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Sure,
um,
what's it matter? Yeah. Oh,
right.
You know what's,
Um,
I mean, to that point, I mean, obviously, like having read these books for so long, I just know it's part of it, right? Stuff's going to get reset at a certain point.
right.
I just remember when I was a kid, though, I thought it was kind of cool that I'm reading, say, 80s Claremont, late 80s Claremont, Silvestri X-Men, and the stuff that happened in like, 60s X-Men or 70s X-Men still counts. It's still a
Right.
part of their history. And to me, like I don't know, the resetting stuff, and then like, DC has played fast and loose. Like famously, even when you had New 52, Jim Lee has spoken about this. The rule was like the one character whose book, like all the history counted, was Batman, except all of
because
Batman's
because
history
they weren't
happened
kicking
in
Grant
5 years.
Morrison off.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
But
it,
it
like
happened
I
in
mean
5 years. All of that
Right.
Batman stuff had
Yeah.
happened in 5 years, which is
And
crazy.
wasn't that I'm sorry, I kind of missed you because you were cross-cutting. What did you say that was because Morrison was writing it at the time and
Yeah,
Morrison's
Morrison was still on his Batman run, and they weren't going
right.
to tell Morrison that he was doing
Uh,
something different.
And especially because all the like the Batman that Batman run was so much of it was about all this stuff happened. It's all in the Black
Right.
Case book. I would do a Scottish accent there, but I don't trust myself to be able to do it accurately.
Morrison is hilarious because I know that like the because I don't know about you guys, but I don't know if you when I was a kid, like, and this is like the early days of like really being able to go to the store and get like graphic novels. But I remember, I don't know if you guys read I when I was a kid, I had like Batman Son of the Demon, and that was the one where
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I loved that book. Also, it's funny because one of those early comics where it's like, it's got kind of adult stuff happening too. But I like that story a lot. And I thought it was really dope that at the end, it's like Talia Al Ghul had left this baby on his doorstep. So when I heard that like Morrison was writing Batman and he's writing Batman's son, I'm like, oh, cool. He continued the story of Son of the Demon. But then you
Yeah.
find out that he was like, oh yeah, I didn't bother to read all that old stuff. So I made up
Oh,
this storyline where Talia sexually assaulted Batman. Like, you know what I mean? Like
oh, I don't think I
yeah,
saw
he
that
he threw it
interview.
out.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
I mean, I don't know if he called it that, but she drugged him basically. So
yeah.
there's no other way to really.
I was thinking more about the fact that like they didn't actually end up reading most of that stuff. I don't know. I'm a little bit
Yeah,
disappointed. But I mean,
yeah. But it's funny. It seems like Morrison's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, no matter what.
yeah, and I mean they kept like
But
the broad strokes of like, oh yeah, Batman had a kid with Talia, but how exactly that
yeah,
happens is a little bit crucial.
Yeah,
um,
see,
yeah, yeah.
I don't, and it's been a while since I read it, and but I don't remember it like actually. I always thought of it as Son of the Demon being Damien's conception.
That
I
makes
didn't feel
sense.
like it was
Yeah,
really canceled out.
yeah,
yeah.
I think he might have put like a twist on it in some ways that like
it wasn't
eh,
Bruce didn't remember
Well,
it
no,
or whatever.
right.
they have said since that it's officially Elseworlds, which I don't think at the time they said like this book is Elseworlds.
Right.
Um, but like now it's considered to be Elseworlds. But anyway, I wasn't even like I'm not complaining too much. It's more just the fact that because you were talking about them bending Batman's timeline around Grant Morrison, and then that just reminded me of Grant Morrison being like, you know, I don't have to adhere to to that history right there.
Okay, and again, we're Wikipedia here,
Hmm.
but Wikipedia is saying it was deemed non-canon until Grant Morrison used elements of it.
That's what
Oh,
I thought too. Like I
oh,
thought that
interesting. So it was always not canon.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood
Right.
then because that's what I came into it thinking. Like I always
Okay.
assumed that Son of the Demon was like I guess it was retroactively declared an Elseworlds or whatever. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Eh.
yeah. Um Yeah, no, it's I mean Morrison does this a lot though, where there's stuff that they bring in that either gets retconned or like either they bring in stuff that was formerly retconned or non-canon and then they twist it around or do something else to it, or they end up creating
Mhm.
something that ends up getting folded into the mainstream universe anyway. Like I'm a big fan of the miniseries they did Marvel Boy, which was in this
Mhm.
bizarrely alternate
I like Marvel
version of
Boy.
Marvel Boy is real fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
kind of real stupid in some ways, but there's a lot of real good ideas in Marvel Boy. And like it ends up getting like that character ends up being such an interesting twist on the Marvel Boy character that eventually they're just like, oh yeah, he's in this universe, even though like literally nothing else could possibly in that book could have possibly happened in the mainstream Marvel universe, but whatever, it's fine.
Mhm.
I mean, at a certain point, you just have to be like, yeah, comic book canon is just sort of, if you can make it
Yeah, yeah,
work,
yeah.
fine. It's
I
whatever works
know.
best. Yeah.
It's
No,
just
I'm.
it's the kid it's the kid to me though. You know what I mean? Because I
Oh
thought that
yeah,
was cool as a kid. That it's like, oh wow. Because I would jump around because it's when you I didn't have like a subscription box when I was a kid, so I would literally pick up whatever I could pick up wherever. So I'm reading like the current run of something, and then I'm like they're doing reprints of like early issues, and I'm like, oh wow, it's all connected. You know.
yeah. Oh,
So
I mean, one of my formative
yeah.
experiences in like early comics reading was I had this was okay. It was one of the X-Men tie-ins. It was during the crossover of Fatal Attractions from like the early 90s. Do you remember
Hmm.
that one? It was like the one where,
Yeah,
oh,
vaguely.
Magneto and Xavier like Magneto finally goes too far, and they
Yes,
finally have to
yes,
have the
yes.
big final fight. And like the issue I had was like the final issue of Fatal Attractions, in which like Magneto or Xavier takes a whole bunch of X-Men up to Asteroid M or whatever the heck it is,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
is
no,
like,
you're
oh,
right.
we have. Yeah, I can't remember if they had renamed it though or whatever.
Okay, okay.
And they have like their big final confrontation. They bring up all this history of like, oh, for decades we've been at each other's throats, and remember that time that this happened, and remember how blah blah blah, and like
Hmm.
they're referring to comics that maybe were written 30 years ago or more. And
Yeah,
as a kid, I thought this was the coolest friggin' thing ever. It's like, oh my God, all this history is coming back. They've been they're all this stuff is coming together. And like it wasn't until years later I actually delved in and read more of the actual issues from around that time where I'm like, oh yeah, I guess
it's
they
very
did just kind
different.
of, yeah, it's like,
Just
they
reference
immediately
it.
had to,
Yeah,
yeah, they immediately had to retcon some stuff, and it's like, oh, well, they had to bring Magneto
yeah,
back somehow. So it's like, oh yeah, his mind was stored in Xavier's mind. So then he got brought back as
right.
the Onslaught. Yeah, I mean, you have to do that because you've got action figures of Magneto. You can't just kill him off forever. But like being able to use continuity like that in a way where it's
Yeah,
like, oh, we can refer to stuff that happened 40 years ago in a way that makes it cool and relevant again. Like that's great. That's like comics at its absolute best.
yeah,
And I mean, this crossover unfortunately is not comics at its absolute best because nothing ends up
yeah.
mattering because at the end of it they're just like, yeah, Rift reset the universe and now he gets to have his own private sleep pocket dimension where he just gets to hang out and everything, and it's all cool now, I guess. Yeah, we're good. And it's, I mean,
Yeah.
you couldn't really do it any other way, but it's also just so unsatisfying.
Well,
you
yeah,
know
because it's just gonna reset it anyway. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, I think it's the nature of a part of it is the nature of events, because like I said, you always have a
yeah,
destination that is a company, mandate that maybe somebody pitched it, you know what I mean? But then, and sometimes it's pitched to the writers, but like, they have a end point. They're like, look, get there how you get there.
yeah,
So, I
it's
mean, well, even to your continuity point, because you raise it, I mean, at the end of the day, I probably sound like a crybaby because it's like whatever. It's superheroes. They're gonna reboot stuff and reset stuff. But yeah, maybe that's just making the case for indie comics. Because you read something like Love and Rockets and like,
everything counts. Yeah.
like yeah, everything counts and it's because it's the same creators
Or an even
literally writing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or an even better comparison, I mean, Busiek's Astro City. I went on an Astro City reread tear
Mhm.
recently and I just reread
Hey,
everything. And that book, I mean, if you want like a cohesive, super coherent, absolutely, designed superhero universe story, yeah, read Astro City. It's one
Black
dude who's been
Hammer as
writing
well.
it for 30 years. Like it's
Black
exact.
Hammer universe as well.
Oh yeah, that's another great
I have
example.
to I
Yeah.
have to read
We
those.
actually on our weekly episode, Tyler and I did both Black Hammer and Astro City, where we went back and forth week by
Hmm,
week, reading big chunks of each
Yeah.
for a couple of
It's
that's
months.
cool.
it's I mean, you look at stuff like that and you realize, oh yeah, this is how comics were always meant to be. Like
Well,
this is
I mean, I
what's
don't know if that's how
Yeah.
they're always. I mean, I think in a lot of
I know.
ways they were never meant to have continuity at all
Oh yeah.
initially.
No, I know. I
That's
mean,
a
I
So
good
keep thinking,
so
point.
by the
Yeah.
so by the time they did, you had like
you had to fix like,
so much to deal with.
why are there two flashes? Yeah. Oh God. I
Right.
mean, and
Yeah.
I keep thinking about, there was also, going back to Kurt Busiek, there was a thing in like the foreword or something when he was writing his foreword or something to what was the one that was like the photojournalist history, where it's like this guy who has been a photojournalist at the Daily Planet for
Oh, that's
decades.
Marvels.
Marvels, thank you. Yes. And like in
Hmm.
his introduction or at some point in the book, he talks about like, well, I had to set these two issues next to each other. And if you try to look at the timeline of when they came out, the only possible explanation that makes sense is that like it wasn't Reed and Sue's wedding, but it's like some other big thing happened on the same night that like the Sentinels were deployed against the X-Men for the first time. And it
Hmm.
like you got to admire that level of dedication to it, where it's like, oh yeah, what would make all
That's
this make sense?
interesting.
There's a satisfaction
Yeah.
to like putting all the puzzle pieces together. Or I mean, hell,
Yeah.
Don Rosa doing Scrooge McDuck comics and being like,
Life and
oh
Times
well,
Scrooge McDuck. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, yeah, Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck. Like having to figure out like, oh, that doesn't make sense that Scrooge was in the this place at this time. So the only way that could happen is if the ludicrous level of detail you have to do with that to make it all make sense. There's a
Mhm.
satisfaction to the craft there. It's not always necessarily necessary. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on like slavish attention to continuity and how that can sometimes really get to be the detriment of an actual story that I
Yeah,
want to read as a human. So,
you're
but
right. And you
like,
actually made me see that, yeah, even a lot of stuff that I'm talking about, like, oh yeah, man, they really were adhering to continuity. I mean, they were, as to an extent, and then they were playing fast and loose in other ways. So yeah,
yeah, and it's
just tell a good
yeah,
story, I guess, you know.
yeah, and I mean, you are right that like, yes, they, Morrison completely altered how Damien was conceived. That's whether that's for better or for worse. And frankly, I feel like any story that adds sexual assault is probably for the worse. But like,
Right.
it- does it really matter? Because in the end, we got Damien, and like, Damien's a great addition to the
No,
universe.
definitely.
Yeah. I,
Yeah, and I did want to say, like, I'm not like, oh, that messed up,
oh no, and I
Batman,
didn't think you did
Damien
mean that.
and storyline.
Right. I
Yeah,
didn't think you did
yeah.
mean
I
that, but it's
think I
just
think yeah, like what we got in totality was good, you know.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's all in the end, it's all a crapshoot. Comics are weird, but like there's there's a good story in a bad creator's hands can be awful, but I don't know. I had a message there or something, but I don't know where I was going with it. Comics, man, it's all comics. What time is it?
Yeah.
This is one of the episodes where I haven't looked at my
It's,
watch the whole time.
8:20.
Yeah, wow, we have kind of just gone through it.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
I mean, this is I mean, we talked about it for so long, and yet we talked about everything under the sun except this. But like, is it a good crossover? Like,
It's
I
fine.
don't know.
For
It's
me,
fine.
it's
No,
fine. It's
It's
fine. It's
fine.
got issues.
It's
Yeah.
got
I think
yeah.
my
I don't
big
hate it, but
Yeah.
my big 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 issue is uh if you were a Milestone fan, uh, you're essentially looking at this, reading it is kind of has how we read it, where it's like, okay, can we get back to the good stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. When do we get
And
back
but
to
that's
Blood
how I
Syndicate?
feel about, yeah.
and
Sorry, go ahead.
if you were not a Milestone fan, I don't know that this brings you in. Maybe
That's
like the last half, but that's assuming that you
mhm.
kept going to the last half, because I
Right.
don't think, if I'm not a Milestone fan, I finished this after the first 3 or 4 issues.
No, I wouldn't care. I like it.
Right.
It's all these characters who are like, who's this? Like, what's Rocket's deal? Why is she
Right.
like, yeah, it's
Mhm.
no, I don't think it makes the Milestone characters come off particularly well. You really have to understand like, oh, Rocket's whole deal is that she's, the Tony she wants to be the Toni Morrison of her generation. She's inspired this guy who's been a superhero on Earth for decades, or he's an alien living on Earth. And like you have to kind of go so deep into it before you get to, I don't know. It's not like you said, it's not a good introduction. It's not a good introduction to Milestone, and it unfortunately doesn't. If you're a Milestone
Right.
fan coming in, you're fine. If you're not a Milestone fan,
Well,
you're like,
except that you're
what is
more
this?
annoyed than anything. I
Yeah,
mean, if
it's
you're a
like
Milestone fan coming in, you can I actually, it would almost be interesting, not today, but someday, to go back and reread it, skipping the non-Milestone issues. I wonder if you could just read the Milestone issues and get enough of what matters that
Hmm.
you'd actually enjoy it more.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of anything that was truly added in any of the non-Milestone issues.
Yeah. You know what? Now that I think you said it, Tad, but what's missing is, and the earlier Marvel DC crossovers I mentioned, Hulk and Batman and Superman and Spider-Man, they did what you suggested, which is they had writers from both sides. really collabing. They also had rules, like basically, nobody's allowed to really get messed up too bad, and they both have to look awesome at the end. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
but but it was like, because you had writers from who were well versed in both sides, I think it created a more balanced experience. Whereas with the end, you had like, they only really had like, I think, one artist for both, so there was a little visual continuity. So I don't know. I think if you're gonna do it, especially something like this, where you're really taking two separate universes, that's probably the way to do it, to really have, and also think about it like this, like at this point, what we're talking about, the 80s, so Superman's been around for like 50 plus years at this point. Or no, not the 80s and 90s. Superman's probably been around for 60 years at this point. And he's had so many people telling Superman stories. Like Superman has been rebooted. He's been reset. There's different Superman at this time. So Milestone is in its youth, and it's very character driven. And what happens from one issue to another like really matters, and they haven't been a comics company long enough to get into the messiness of, I don't know, having multiple crisis events, and so
They
it
haven't even
is
had
kind of
one
jarring
retcon.
too.
They haven't had one
Right? Yeah,
retcon. So
exactly. Yeah, they only got their first one a couple years ago, and even
yeah.
that one,
No, actually,
they
apparently
did
there was a mild retcon in 2008 that actually brought
that closed the
again,
universe, right? Are you? Yeah.
quoting from Wikipedia. In 2008, the continuity of Milestone characters was modified. Dakota City and the
Oh,
Dakotaverse characters were
I just mean like
placed in the
within the.
mainstream universe.
Yeah, I just meant like in
And
the
it,
Yeah.
in the Milestone
right.
universe, there
And
wasn't
at
like.
that point, apparently, Dharma does explain the revised continuity to Icon and Superman. And it involved
Hmm.
harnessing energies from Rift. So Icon and Superman remember all of this stuff,
Wait, what
even
book
in
was
the
this? What's the book?
it was part of Final Crisis, it looks like.
Oh, interesting. So
Oh,
wait a minute. So they actually refer to the crossover. They actually refer to Worlds Collide in like the merging of the universes.
It it it
huh.
it looks like it.
That's fun. Okay.
That's
I I,
interesting.
res-
I
I
Yeah.
respect it when they do that. I respect it when they're like, yeah, this stuff actually happened. I don't know.
Right.
That makes me respect it a little more.
If you
Anyway.
guys want to, at some point, I can't remember if the title was like Milestone Forever or something, but there was a book in, I want to say 2010 maybe, that you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it was like
Vaguely.
It
the
was
it was like the
yeah.
swan song sort of thing where it's like here's how the Milestone universe would have ended, or sort of here's what we were building up to, I guess. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
I still have, yeah, yeah, exactly. I still have those. I'd like to, I mean, if you guys, we should probably discuss them at some point.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
I'm
you,
certain.
you see how who Static ends up marrying and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
It's been a while, but I know I don't think I ever read
yeah,
it
yeah,
actually. Um,
yeah. I
yeah.
liked it. I remember being like really, because I had not had any Milestone for a while, and it wasn't just because I had read Milestone. I actually thought it was good, but I
Hmm.
enjoyed those.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I would want to read it too because that was I assume McDuffie I assume McDuffie wrote it or at least was the major guy on
Yeah,
it
yeah, he did.
because
Yeah,
this is before he passed. Um,
yes.
yeah, I would love to see that because I mean McDuffie was always the driving force on this whole universe, and I would want to see what his ideal ending for it was because I have read up to the sort of actual ending of the book or of the line. Like I read up through the ending of the Milestone universe as we know it, but that's not the intended ending of the Milestone universe anyway. Sorry, I'm getting off
Yeah.
topic, off
No,
topic, but
no,
yeah,
no. It's all on
when are we ever
topic.
on
Yeah,
topic in this?
right.
And
Yeah.
by
What?
that argument,
Okay.
when are we ever off topic?
That's hey, same deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we've been pretty on topic. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
yeah,
we've been good.
this was inessential, kind of fun in places. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing. I don't know what else to say about it. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't.
You know what? I think to jump off of what you just said, it's inessential but largely unoffensive, is what I would
Right.
say. Like it's not like there's some
I,
books you read or movies or things you watch and you're just like, I really want that time back. And
And
I was like, all right, I read it.
I
I'm cool. Like,
definitely think if I was doing a Milestone reread in the future, I would be
yeah, you
very
skip it.
tempted to, well, at least skip the non-milestone parts. I would read
Yeah,
the Steel or the Superboy or the Supergirl.
Yeah,
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 because
Uh,
like I said, I mean, I really like the Blood Syndicate stuff. There's a whole part where Aqua
yeah,
Maria supposedly dies in a sacrifices her life to prevent this giant tidal wave from killing everybody. And it's like they genuinely have this whole thing of like, man, I barely knew her, and I really want, I'm sad to lose her and everything. And
yeah,
like it was kind of touching. And like I said, there was that great little sequence between Kwai and Faye that I thought was
yeah,
really pretty good, like for both those characters. Yeah, I mean, I just yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I get why they did it. I mean, obviously for mandates, but like
Right.
editorial mandates and potentially more money, but like it just didn't it does nothing for me. It exists. It's not
yeah.
terrible, but like who cares?
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah, that's all I got to say
Random
about it.
Surprised.
question.
Yeah.
Random question. Did I think one of my favorite, and I don't know, maybe it's just the age I was when I read it, but one of my favorite crossovers was probably X-Men's Inferno. I'm sure
Oh,
maybe a lot of people wouldn't agree, but did you guys read
I haven't
Inferno?
even read
I
it.
didn't. I know about it. It was like
Uh
just before I got really into the X-Men because I got into it like the cartoon. So that
okay.
was like a thing that had
Okay, yeah,
recently
yeah, yeah.
happened. I know what had happened, but I didn't know anything about it. I still don't know much anything about it.
Yeah, I happen to have the the old school Marvel like subscription where you
Ah,
get it in the brown sleeve in the mail. And so I was getting X-Men books monthly, and then it came, and I to this day I love Mark Silvestri, but
mm,
like yeah, that was like peak Mark Silvestri X-Men. And then it was crossing over with X Factor, which I was also reading. So actually, it even crossed over a little bit into Avengers,
oh
which was
wow.
interesting because only in the sense that I think some of the demon takeover stuff was happening in the Avengers books those months too. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
Yeah, I liked that one, and I reread it in the last couple of years, and I still enjoyed it.
the X-Men, the random X-Men crossover from the like early 90s that I do know a whole lot about is Executioner Song, which is the one where they go
Oh,
to
Executioner
Genosha.
Song.
And I only know it because
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure it was a thing where I had asked my grandma one Christmas for like an X-Men comic, and I think I had asked for like the Dark Phoenix saga or something that's like more recognizable, but this was like the only one she could find.
Hmm.
So I got this
Oh.
other random crossover that nobody really remembers that wasn't that good, but like it wasn't even
Hmm.
that bad. It's like that was another one where like, I mean, come to think of it, that was actually a pretty good crossover because it did that
Yeah.
thing where it referred to all these decades of history of the X-Men and remember our old friend Cameron Hodge, who then turned out to be a scurrilous
Hmm.
villain and like, there's all these
Oh my God.
referring referring to all this history
Yeah.
that you think is super important, and then later on you're like, oh, they just kind of crammed a bunch of crap together, didn't they? But like they made Genosha
Yeah.
into a whole thing. I don't know. That
Yeah. All
I
that Cameron Hodge stuff that happened in early X Factor, which I
yes.
loved X Factor when I was a kid because I was like, oh, you're getting the original X-Men back. And the other ones still exist because I loved the current X-Men team, so I didn't want to see like Scott and Jean and them bump them out, but I was happy to see them back as a team. You know what I mean? And like,
Yes.
but it's like it was funny the gimmick where it's like, all right, we're posing as these mutant hunters,
Who have
like
powers that
because our buddy Cameron, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
our boy Cameron is our manager, and he told us to, yeah. But it's like, yeah, how I feel like somebody would figure it out or something.
Yeah. Well, and
But
see,
they seem to pull off the deceit for a while.
for me it was I was the kid who came into it who like knew so I was the kid who I got into the new X Factor, the X Factor where it was
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Alex and Lorna and like the
Which was
team.
also really good. Yeah,
Yeah, it was doing something totally different, but the idea was like, yeah, now they're just,
yeah, yeah,
the government mandated super team, which I thought was a really fun hook. So like that was a far different version of it, but like that's the X factor that I always thought was kind of fun. Was like, oh yeah, how do they deal with the political bullshit? And
yeah,
like the fact that they don't have the budget for a danger room. So instead there's just like a little perch up
yeah.
in the room where like their boss takes pot shots at them with a gun, and that's the danger room they have. Anyway, they
And what Val
Val Cooper,
Cooper
yeah,
was
Val
the
Cooper.
boss,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like,
that's
yeah, Val
I
Cooper's the boss.
I have such weird, like disjointed memories of the X-Men and all these comics, which to be honest, is
Yeah.
probably the right way to experience comics and superhero
Yeah,
comics.
yeah,
Is like you just know random issues that have no connection to one another. It's the ideal
yeah. I
experience.
mean, I can't imagine having read all of it. I've read a lot of X-Men, but I know I've scratched the surface. There's just so much history.
Oh God, yes. Who was okay, Ted? You'll know this. Who is the author who did that book, All the Marvels, where it was literally
That
he read
that would be
Oh,
I was
that's
Douglas Wolk.
Wolk. Thank you.
That's
Yes.
why I was asking
right,
you about
right.
the comics historian, because when
Oh
you
yeah,
were
because you were
It's a
describing
covering
different
that
it.
guy.
Yeah.
earlier, I was sitting there going, that sounds like something Douglas would have written about.
Yes. No, it's
Yeah.
not Douglas Wolk. I think it's a different guy, but
Yeah.
someone else did this thing where yeah, he was talking about the history of this, among other things, this image crossover. But yeah, Douglas Wolk did that book, All the Marvels, where he read every
Hmm.
single Marvel
Yep.
comic, which like
And we
Whew.
read the entire book and all of the comics that he highlighted and talked to him. You can find them in the
woof,
22 Panels archives.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
nice.
looked through some of those.
I like that you turned that into a plug. I like that we made that work.
I got
No,
to
it's
do it
good.
every once in a
You
while.
gotta
No,
you gotta plug it.
of course, no.
Rate and
Um,
review.
yeah, no, exactly. Um,
If you really like us, we have a Patreon. We'll take your money.
hey, there we go. I'm gonna set up a
Oh, there
Patreon
you
now.
go.
I'm gonna have something I can advertise, man. Let's see here. I'm trying.
I mean, so far we only have one patron, but
Hey, I'm sure your mom loves the show. So,
no, actually, my mom does love the show and is not our patron.
okay, all right.
Hi, Andy. We
Nice.
we named the
Yeah, shout your
VIP level
patrons out.
after him, and it
At
worked.
least if they want to be shouted out. Yeah.
Um. Anyway,
Cool.
so yeah, that's Worlds Collide. I do. There's got to be a good like behind the scenes history of it. Of like, here's why Worlds Collide happened, and I would be
Yeah.
fascinated by it.
I'm gonna look it up.
There's got to be someone has done like
Yeah.
a compilation of interviews or something. Uh there was I wish I remember who wrote this. There was a like beat by beat dissection of the entire Clone Saga that was up on like
Yeah.
Blogspot years ago.
Oh,
Who was it who wrote that? And that was how I first
I would
experienced the
love
Clone
that.
Saga.
I would
It's
love that because the Clone Saga was famously the point when I dropped off Spider-Man for a bit, like
oh
for years actually. And it wasn't even like a rage quit. I just kind of fizzled out.
oh yeah.
Like, you know,
I think you and everybody
yeah,
else, including the creators of the Clone Saga. But
yeah,
that one is another one where like whoever it was who wrote that, I wish to God I remembered your name. I'm so sorry. Like they did this, very thorough investigation of like, okay, here's what happens to this issue. Why does it not make sense considering all these other 6 issues before it? Who was being editorially mandated to use this character like that? I wish there was something like that for Worlds Collide. It's not nearly as long, but it is like there's got to be just as much interesting history to it. Like anyway,
yeah,
who decided on having the pairs of characters actually mostly makes perfect sense, except for the part where Superman first teams up with the Blood Syndicate as opposed to just going straight to Icon and like not having the JLA no, there wasn't a JLA book at that time, was there? Because Morrison didn't come on until like 99 or 2000. When did Morrison? Anyway, I'm just sorry, I'm talking to
I don't
myself now,
know.
but like I'm just trying to remember like
No, no,
what books there would have been for them to cross over with.
Well, but it
yeah,
was specifically a Metropolis crossover.
You're right. Yeah, you know what? You're right. That makes it make sense. If it is
Because,
just
no
Metropolis,
Batman either.
yeah. Well, and there's also not really a Batman equivalent in the Milestone. Cobalt, or not. Well, not Cobalt. Who's the other guy? The Death Wish. Death Wish. We haven't gotten to him yet. Sorry, I'm kidding. I'm getting loopy. This has been a long episode, but a good episode. I like talking about this one. This was a
Not that long. We're only at an
yeah.
hour and a half, man. Wait
Yeah,
up and go like it's sometimes like 2-3 hours in that it's like Marcus is like, I need to draw.
I mean, I do need to get to bed eventually before I turn into a pumpkin, but like
Yeah.
this is I
Yeah.
mean, this for something that we all said we weren't super keen on, we ended up talking about it for a long time.
Sometimes
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that you don't like have more to talk about.
I mean, because
There was a lot to talk about. I just don't know that there's a lot to
Yeah.
recommend.
yeah, there's a lot to say. It's just it's
Yeah.
not a lot of it is super positive, but it's also not super negative. Like,
most of it's not
I have a
negative.
positive
It's
thing.
more,
yeah,
I have a positive thought. It's making me look forward to getting back to regular Milestone issues next
yeah. I mean,
time.
there you go. That really
definitely
is it. It's just
Shadow
like, oh,
Cabinet next month.
yes, because they so God, remind me what has happened with Shadow Cabinet so far. We had the Shadow War, and
We
that's where
did Shadow
Icon
War.
Yeah,
Icon
We're
and Static met, or
next month is Shadow Cabinet #1.
right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's
I'm sure
where
they'll just
that's
jump us in.
Rocket and Static met. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I am. Yeah, this is getting back to Matt. Getting back to the Milestone universe is getting me excited. I'm like, ooh, I do want to see what happens next with, what happens next with
yeah.
Raquel's pregnancy. What happens with I can't remember what Blood Syndicate was doing. I mean, they're kind of just continuing all the Blood Syndicate nonsense. But like Aquamaria and Kwai just showed up and all this other stuff. Yeah, I want to see what they
Yeah.
do. But yeah, the DC crossover stuff just didn't. It's kind of nothing to it, and it ends really anticlimactically. Like it really, I'm kind of overselling. I was kind of exaggerating, but not that much when I said that they just have the machine that fixes everything. Where there is just like, oh
Mhm.
yeah, we built this thing that can stop Rift somehow. It just
Yeah.
it makes him stop being a bad guy, and then just turn it on and it works. Like there's very little nuance to it. It's just this is the thing that solves the problem. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I got issues.
And I guess it's funny because I probably mentioned this on the show is that like I was way more of a Marvel kid. I would read Batman, but I would also read a DC book here or there. But I have to say, well, like just as an adult, I've like really gone back to like all the DC books, a lot of DC books that I was missing, and been like, oh, DC has a lot of cool stuff. And but this definitely was not my favorite regular DC era. You
No.
know what I mean? Like I feel like there's DC stuff afterwards I liked a lot, DC stuff before that I liked a lot,
Yeah.
but this era I
It's
just wasn't. Yeah,
the
yeah.
late 90s DC has never been something that particularly appealed to me. I've heard people talk lovingly about like Young Justice was right around this time, and so was
See, I actually
Around this time.
or some I think so.
uh
Wasn't Young
no
Justice
No Man's Land
Wait,
was
No
not
Man
long after this.
yes, No Man's Land,
Uh
yeah.
okay.
so this is mid '90s
Wait, really?
Oh, you're
DC.
right, mid
No,
90s, my
no.
bad.
Late
Yeah, yeah.
'90s
This
is
is
No
because
Man's Land.
isn't.
But
Yeah,
this
yeah.
is
This
also
is this even mid? This might have been like 90. Well, yeah,
96.
maybe like
this 90
95. Okay,
right.
all right,
96 was the
96.
date that I saw.
Um
Okay, all right.
and it's solidly in Superman's Triangle era, which is
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah.
one of the best Superman eras for my money.
Okay,
Um
He does have the
I'll
mullet.
take your
I
word
mean,
for it.
though I kind of fell off after the reign of the Superman. Uh, but I did
that's
go
right.
through Death of Superman, Return of the Superman, or Reign of the Superman, Return of the Superman. But I mean, I'm just
This is
flipping
also
through.
this is also just a little ways before Electric Superman, right?
Possibly, but I don't remember that at all.
I only know it because I know Electric Superman slightly overlaps with JLA,
Okay.
and Morrison's JLA doesn't start until 99 or 98.
Yeah,
I want to
no,
say so.
Morrison's
Yeah.
JLA actually, I know for a fact comes after Authority
Mm,
because a friend of mine who had uh not read Authority until much later after it came out initially was like, well, it's good, but I don't know why you're going nuts over it. I mean, there's nothing that Morrison didn't do a JLA, and I'm like, yeah, except that Authority came first.
yeah.
Mm.
um,
Oof. I have some fond memories of the Authority, which not all of them are deserved, but it was something that I didn't. It was something that I stumbled upon at the right time to blow my mind. And
yeah.
going back later, I'm like, ooh, maybe not so much. But like at the time, it was the thing that made my head
Oh,
explode.
I have trouble even saying his name because he's one of the handful of people in all of like writing that I've read pretty much every word he's ever written. You know. So yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Worlds Collide. Not a lot to recommend it. Not awful, but
Yeah,
eh,
I mean, if you're reading your Milestone compendium, you don't need to skip it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're not reading your Milestone via the compendium, you don't necessarily have to go nuts to find the issues.
Yeah.
I think that's the way I'd put it.
Yeah, it's fine. It exists.
Yeah.
I do wonder to what degree this was like an editorial mandate of like, well, we have all these things. We're being published by the same company. We got to do it. Like, to what degree was that the case?
I mean, I think one of the things I wonder about the most is what the goal was. Was it to
Yeah.
juice Milestone sales? If it was to juice Milestone sales, I don't see how it would have achieved that because, as we discussed, if you don't know Milestone already, you don't stick around long enough to. Except that is kind of the advantage of that Worlds Collide #1 being in the middle. It's almost a soft reboot of
Mm.
this already ongoing. So I wonder if they even I mean, this is as I talk out loud, I'm going, oh, I might actually want to know more about how this came together because there's actually some indication that they knew that it wasn't working well and that there was like course
Hmm.
correction in real time.
Yeah, we can't have this just
Hmm.
be about some guy who's a postal worker. We got to have him be a
Right.
big glowy god dude. Like that's
Well, but
that's
I
how
think
it's gonna
that
work.
I think that might have been part of it already, but like the specific meta stuff that indicates that like they knew that the writing, that hadn't really gelled and had kind of been all over the place up until that point, um,
Yeah, whether there was
and
a
having
deliberate
that issue that
correction.
allows you to let's start here and read this story.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, that's a good question. Whether there was like a deliberate course correction partway through this series, because
right.
yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
Anyway,
I'm just
so next,
scanning. I'm scanning something somebody wrote about it, but I don't know. I'll read it afterwards. And if I find anything interesting, I'll bring it up next time.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to
Yeah.
see if there is like a guide to here's what happened, here's why Worlds Collide happened. Like if that exists, I would love to read it. I would love to know if
Yeah,
there's a good like Jess Nevins style annotation of the whole thing. Like, um,
yeah.
I, uh, yeah. Anyway, um, I was a friend of mine had just recently said they had reread Smacks, and I was like, ooh, the Jess Nevins has some great annotations for Smacks, uh, and then I also realized as I was saying that, and as I'm saying it now, I'm like, oh right, I contributed to the annotations for that. This is kind of an advertisement for my own services, isn't it?
That's allowed.
I guess so.
Yeah,
I
yeah, it
caught
is.
this. I caught this very specific reference in Smacks because I am in fact friends with Xander Cannon, the artist who worked on Smacks and who also wrote some of the follow-up top 10 stuff. Anyway, so I was able to catch an extremely obscure reference when it came up in Smacks, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And I'm never gonna shut up about it.
Nah, hey, I mean, toot your horn. It's all good.
Yeah. Oh, okay. How we doing? What time
All
is
right, so next
it? Oof.
time we got Shadow Cabinet.
Got Shadow
Shadow
Cabinet.
Cabinet
Is it
next
is
time.
it how many issues is it?
I think it's only 4.
Okay, 4 issues of
Okay.
first 4 issues of Shadow Cabinet. All right. Yeah, Shadow
Yeah,
Cabinet.
I've never read this.
Yeah.
I
I'm looking forward to it.
Four issues of Shadow Cabinet.
I'm trying to remember. Like Shadow Cabinet was one where,
Then we'll have 6 issues of Static.
yeah. Okay. Well, okay. In any case, we'll get to it next time. But yeah, next up is first 4 issues of Shadow Cabinet, which I am looking forward to because that was another very deliberate, like new type of comic that hadn't been at Milestone
Some really
before. It seems to me.
cool. Yeah, sorry, some really cool John Paul Leon art too
Oh
in
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
That's one thing.
I'm looking forward to the art. Yeah,
That's one thing you can definitely say about all the Milestone books is they had superlative art. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the writing too, but honestly, like the art is, oh, God. I mean, there's some really striking stuff and all that. I mean, obviously, MD Bright had been around for
yeah.
decades, and JP Leon was just making his bones. But anyway, oof, Milestone art, good stuff. Okay, so next week or next week, next month, Shadow Cabinet
month.
1 through 4.
Okay. Ooh,
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Sounds good. So for the Brothers Anderson, not related, this has been the Milestone Book Club on 22 Panels. And we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panelspodcast.